Hello, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast, the go-to spot for all things precision manufacturing. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Before we dive into today's exciting episode, do not forget to check us out at our website, Manufacturing Culture Podcast, for more amazing content. And yes, we're on social. Find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to stay completely updated with the latest in the manufacturing world. Now, let's rev up the energy as we welcome two phenomenal guests to the show, Lister and Blaine Radie, the dynamic duo behind B&B Dynamic Machining. Lister, a maestro in the world of precision manufacturing, brings a wealth of experience to the table, from spearheading process improvements at consolidated tooling manufacturers to managing a team of 15 to 20 at Shearer Bearing in Pennsylvania. Brett's journey is nothing short of inspiring. He's transformed the landscapes with innovations like magnetic work holding and turning cells, and his work with super alloys in the oil and gas industry is the stuff of legends. With his hands-on experience in CNC programming and leading-edge technology implementation, Brett's story is a testament to the power of dedication and innovation. And then we have Blaine Radie, a passionate craftsman who discovered his calling in metal and woodworking back in high school. Blaine's journey is a narrative of growth and passion. From starting as a part deburrer in an aerospace shop to becoming a co-owner of B&B Dynamic Machining, he embodies the spirit of American manufacturing. His commitment to learning and expanding his skills in 3D modeling and CNC programming showcases his dedication to not just making parts, but making a difference. Blaine's enthusiasm for U.S. manufacturing and his role in delivering top-notch components across various industries is truly contagious. Together, Brett and Blaine represent the heart and soul of precision manufacturing. Their journey from the shop floor to co-owning B&B Dynamic Machining is a story of persistence, innovation, and a relentless drive to excel. So gear up, listeners, as we explore the ins and outs of precision manufacturing, the journey of B&B Dynamic Machining, and the inspiring stories of Brett and Blaine. It's time to get motivated, learn from a couple of the best, and maybe, just maybe, find that spark to ignite your own manufacturing journey. Let's get this show on the road. Brett and Blaine, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. So excited to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Thanks, Tim. Nice to be here.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, you're very welcome, guys. This is the coolest part of my job. The coolest job that I do, I guess, is the best way to put it. I love doing this podcast and having conversations with people like you. Guys, just as I kick off every show, tell us a little bit about your journey. Brett, we'll start with you. Where did you start? How did you get to where you are today? I can read that intro all I want, but put it in your own words.
So honestly, I ended up going to a college for landscape architecture, and it took me about 3 weeks to just figure out that I did not want to know every scientific name of every damn plant out there. So then I ended up dropped out of college. My dad was a little upset. I'm like, well, would you rather me waste 4 years of your money or 4 months of your money? So then I ended up going to Lincoln Tech.
Okay.
And in Lincoln Tech, at a certain spot, you can choose architectural drafting or you can choose mechanical drafting. I was going to go to the architectural route, except my teacher kind of shook his head. He's like, no, you need to go more the mechanical route. So that's kind of where my journey started, with the mechanical aspect of things. And then I first cut my teeth in a tool and die shop. And the tool and die shop, each designer was kind of given their own detailer. So I kind of, I would rip the die apart, and, die had 300 components. I'd sit there and detail all 300 components one by one. So the gentleman that I just so happened to be was actually given this software called Part Maker that was supposed to work inside the CAM system or the CAD system that we're using. And so I kind of got exposed to a little bit more of CAM, not just CAD, with that. And I liked it. So we started a program with Part Maker, the mills and stuff like that, which was kind of nice because we had someone that created what they called a holes chart. So again, you didn't have each hole dimension. You had this hole was an A, that hole was a B, and then it would output a big holes chart on the top of your print. Well, that kind of outputted a background file, what we called a GPF file. Made it easy for guys that had never been programming before, like tool and die makers that were, 30 years into it. You import this GPF file and boom, your screen would just populate with all these holes and pretty much everything would be programmed.
Wow.
which was nice because again, it just just a drill and counterbore hole for a half 13. It would be called half 13 socket head cap screw drill and counterbore. Your depth would be set for your standard depth for a half-inch screw would be 5. All those depths are kind of already set in there, so that was kind of nice. And then when my one job was actually shutting down, I decided I want to learn how to run one of these machines because God forbid, it might help me find another job.
Yeah.
I got addicted. Then that was in the mill department. Then I was getting ready to go on vacation one time. The owner came up. He's like, when you get back from vacation, I think we're going to put you in quality for a little bit, inspect some parts. Went back to him the next day after I had said, John, I don't want to sit here and inspect parts all day. I'm sorry. It's just not something I want to do. But then actually they kind of needed help in the turning department. Well, that I want to do. That's another CNC machine. Sure. Let me go see how to run that and program that. It was the turning aspect of it. So I just always wanted to continue my learning and my growing. There's been a couple of jobs where I'm not going to lie, and since owning a business where I'm doing a lot more reading and a lot more listening to motivational speakers. You mentioned that I ran shear bearing. Great spot to learn how to run a company. Like you said, I was in charge of 15 people. I brought magnetic work holding in there. I brought 2 new CNC mills, 2 new CNC lathes, an 8 vertical grinder. Great things for the company, not great things for me. My programming, I let my programming lack. Because again, I'm programming a bearing. It's a round part, not the most complicated turning I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Programming, a bolt hole pattern for like a cage, that's where I let my skills lack. And again, I thought I was doing great things. And again, I did great things for the company, nothing personally though.
Sure.
And again, now owning a company, it's not just about the company growing, it's about me growing personally as well, which is just better for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Blaine, what about you? You started in high school. How'd you get into these high school classes? How'd you discover that?
Yeah, so I went to Ben Salem High School, and it was just a generic high school, but they had woodworking and metalworking classes as electives that you could choose. So I ended up choosing those electives, and I knew right away that I just really enjoyed the craftsmanship area to further myself into. There was, home improvement class, which was really cool, just general woodworking class. And then they had a metal shop class. The metal shop class was what I really liked out of those electives, but it was really old and run down. I love my teacher, Mr. Crathern, really cool guy. He's out there somewhere. But it was really run down. They had really old machinery. I loved it, but I knew that, there's kind of a little bit more to that story, more than what meets the eye, so to speak.
Sure. Absolutely. So after high school, how did you, what did your journey look like after that?
So my journey after high school didn't really follow what I wanted to do, as I think that happens with a lot of people. You tend to, go where the money is. And right after high school, I kind of wanted to try things on my own as opposed to, maybe going to college or something. So right after high school, I just went straight to work. I ended up working a bunch of odd jobs, pharmacy tech at Rite Aid, to dry cleaners, to air hub at Hog Island, UPS, doing all types of different things. And it's right after Hog Island, air hub, which was really cool work, really cool. That's when I saw a metal shop posting on Craigslist for the aerospace company. And it kind of rekindled that fire after that period of time. Like, I remember I really loved that in high school. So I jumped on that opportunity. I stopped all what I was doing beforehand, and I got into that shop. I made it happen. And I've just been in a shop, type scene since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How did you two connect?
We both met at our previous employer. Blaine knew I was thinking about buying a machine. And so again, I worked at Shear Bearing, a programmer that I used to work with. He called me up and said, listen, we're looking for somebody. Do you want to come over? I said, I'm always willing to listen to talk. Talk's free, So me and the programmer, we walked around with the vice president at the time. The programmer that I knew walked away. Me and the vice president went in the office. He's like, listen, just listening to you two talk, we got to make this happen. Okay. I'm like, all right, good. I wrote a number down on a piece of paper. If you can make that happen, good, let's do it. And so we made that happen. So then we talked about it. B&B was supposed to be a school at first.
Mm.
That's why we got the VF2. We went back to our old vice president. We said, listen, we're thinking about starting up a school. We want to make sure there's no type of backlash. The vice president went and talked to the owner. Sure, there's no type of backlash. Blaine was asking me one time about, me starting up the school and everything. And the Mike was the name of the other programmer. And I literally told Mike, I said, Blaine's asking me about this school or the business. And he's not asking me just to ask. He either wants to come work for me or he wants to be part of it. And sure enough, a week later, he's like, all my friends are taking chances. Do you mind if I went in on it with you? No, absolutely, man. Let's do it. So again, he was more, I don't want to speak for him, but he was more of a button pusher over there. Again, not learning like a lot of shops do. And I've always been even managing, the more the easier my job is. So I'm not going to be one of these guys that, again, I've watched certain guys with guys under them. They'll program and hide, and they won't teach the guy behind them doing anything. And he's the guy doing all the work, and he's hiding stuff like that, programming. That's never been me. Yeah. If it's in my head, like I was just telling you before the intro, I can't articulate it. If it's in my head, you're more than welcome to the knowledge. Me explaining it might not always be the greatest, but if it's in here, you're more than welcome to it. So and again, so we took a chance. We ended up ordering the VF2. The old owner bought another machine shop that he wasn't using for machining. It was going to be more of a paint booth and stuff like that. So he gave that shop, had an air compressor and air dryer. I said, well, why don't you go give it to the guy starting up a school. Thanks. We just got a free air compressor and a free air dryer. Yeah. I went over to personally thank the owner with a business card. He didn't give me 2 seconds to talk to him, and Blaine wasn't with me. The following Monday, I was fired.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Now, again, Blaine wasn't with me. And again, like a lot of shops, they need operators. So again, Blaine, they kind of took their time to get rid of Blaine, firing him. Me, they just so happened to hire another programmer the same day I got fired. Coincidence? I don't know. But so again, blessing in disguise. My brother's one of my business mentors. I told him that day that, hey man, they fired me. Good. That was his answer. Good. Okay. He's like, now you can concentrate on your business. Again, blessing in disguise. Another machine shop saw the posting of the VF2 getting delivered. They just so happened to be 6 months behind schedule. I tell that owner all the time, we would not be where we're at today if it wasn't for you guys. Yeah. When we went to buy the second machine, I went over to talk to them. Hey, we're thinking about buying a second machine, lathe or a mill. Well, we really don't sub a lot of lathe work out. We really do a lot of mill work. We sub most of our mill work out. All right, well, thank you very much. I'll let that play into my decision and stuff like that. We got the second mill. As soon as I told them we had that second mill, 8 POs for $75,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's
again,
massive.
I don't want to say I'm starting to, I think, slowly instill this into Blaine. We live by power of attraction. I don't have any sales experience. I don't have any business owner experience. Vision boards throughout my house, throughout here. When we first moved in here, we only had the VF2. On one wall, we duct tape VF3. On the other wall, I duct tape lathe. We have a VF4, not a VF3. And we now have a lathe. Right now on the wall, we literally have the word robot duct tape because with the VF4, we got with auto door options. We were trying to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So again, eventually the robot will be in front of the VF4. We have a Mitutoyo manual CMM, and the work just seems to start coming in. When we have a lot of tooling reps come in here, we have a lot of material reps come in here. 70 to 80% of the stops we go in are slow. I don't know what to tell you. We put as much as we can on LinkedIn as far as stuff we're allowed to show. So again, one guy called me up, he's in Reading, because he saw a post before Christmas. You guys, I kind of wanted to slow down a little bit at Christmas time. And by slow down, I said 40 hours a week, not 70. Get a little bit of family time in. And he so happened to see that. And he's like, oh, yeah, is your own on LinkedIn? No. Well, then who knows you exist?
Right.
Now, granted, we have the website. And again, we've always been putting money back into the website. So we had the website being built, which is why we hired Daniel. I had some guy named Brandon DeSilva. He's up in the Maine area, Maine or Massachusetts. When I hired Daniel, again, he reached out to me on LinkedIn. Hey, how did you know it was time to hire Daniel? I didn't hire him for work that we had. I hired him for work I thought we were going to get.
Sure.
Our website's being built. Once that website's built, we're going to see an uptick in RFQs. I'm training him for when it does hit. I'm trying to plan ahead. So again, I try to plan ahead. I try to do smart thinking, but I also, like I said, I visually attract things. I tell these guys all the time, when I pull up in my car, I take 5 minutes, and it can vary every day. One day I'm just, again, what's going on in the machine shop? You know, what's going on Blaine's machine? What's going on my machine? What's going on in Daniel's machine? Another day, I'm literally picturing our new lathe or live tooling getting delivered on a forklift and being brought in a brand new building. I literally visualize this.
That's
Or
awesome.
I'll visualize that, hey, so-and-so from this company hasn't sent us an RFQ in a while. She's going to send us an RFQ in a couple days. Sure enough, a couple days goes by, there's an RFQ from that so-and-so. People may think it's crazy, wacky, whatever. Again, karma. I think I told you on our original phone call, we'll wear anyone else's shirt and give them a shout out. We have 4 shirts up on our wall. We got another one in here. So I never realized how great of a community LinkedIn was going to be. Starting a machine shop. I have 2 younger guys right now who have been talking to me about starting their own shop. They're actually going to be part of our first mastermind group on the 21st of February. So I have on February 21st, we're doing our first mastermind group. Me, Blaine, 2 other owners. One of the other owners is going to bring their programmer, a manufacturing manager. There's another shop we deal with, and then 2 young kids that are thinking about starting their own shop. The 2 young kids have already talked to me individually about starting their own shop. I mentioned to you, Brandon De Silva. He talked to me about hiring someone, Joshua Hedgepath. I sat here and had a 45-minute conversation with him one time because, again, he saw me on LinkedIn. He's trying to start his own thing.
That's awesome.
And honestly, now that we're talking, I hope that doesn't get him in trouble because he was working for someone and trying to do something. So maybe that's one you can cut out ahead of time. All right. So let's just say there was another gentleman thinking about starting a shop who called me, and we spent 45 minutes online about, again, and again, I'm telling them, vision boards, man. You have to visualize the work coming in. Your mind is so much more powerful than anyone realizes, man.
Absolutely.
I know not everyone thinks that. I have that huge philosophy. Years ago, my dad passed away from cancer, but, he told my brother, me, and my sister, he was going the more holistic route. He wasn't going the chemo. Hey, we were all for that. That's something we're all for that. The brain, eating right. Now, granted, my dad didn't take it seriously enough, I don't think, and unfortunately, he ended up passing away. But we were for it. We weren't like, no, you have to do the chemo. No, brain, eat healthy, and heal yourself. The secret, the law of attraction. That's a big one. There was a lady in there who had cancer, and then supposedly 6 months later, she didn't have cancer because every day she woke up and she told herself it was gone. It was gone. It was gone.
Absolutely. Blaine, what spurred you to want to get involved? I mean, take this risk, as Brett kind of mentioned there early on in that journey to co-ownership. What spurred that on? I mean, you're a young dude, as Brett said, pushing buttons on machine at your last place, maybe not learning as much as you wanted to, but what spurred that risk, taking that risk and jumping in with both feet?
Yeah, so it's been a couple different things kind of for me that build up to that level. So I'll start back at my first shop. The first shop, I won't say what it was called, but it was a really good shop. It was a really smart guy that was heading it. And as you mentioned in the intro, I started out as a part deburrer all day, every day, deburring parts because this guy, he was an old Italian guy with a mustache and a cigar in his mouth all the time. And he just really thought that, you got to start from the bottom. You got to start from the bottom, work your way up. So, and that's what I did as far as I could. I started as a part deburrer and polisher, and then I worked up to running a horizontal bandsaw, indexable. That was the next logical step. So, and then eventually I worked my way into operating some CNC mills, which I love, and operating some wire EDMs that they had there, which was really cool to me too. And I did that for a little bit, but then I made a bad decision. I made a bad decision that I wouldn't realize until later in life, which was I left that job because I thought that I was starting to know a little bit more, and another place offered me a little bit more money. So in, hindsight is 20. I was going to learn way more at that shop than I ended up doing at this next place was nothing but EDMs in the cell that I worked at. And it was just the same part, the same exact part that I just ran for years. So I ended up learning some more quality stuff there. Checking the part and using different equipment for that purpose, comparators and stuff like that. But I was just running the same part, and they wouldn't really let me do too much else there. So that got really tiring really fast.
I'd put a shotgun in my mouth and pull the trigger.
But yeah, I mean, but the money was okay, so I was probably there a little longer than I should have been, right? And, just being honest and stuff, it just was a bad decision on my end. It paid the bills, it did what I needed to do for my family. But like Brett said, it wasn't for me. Like that wasn't, I put the money before I put myself.
Yeah.
And that ended up being a not so great decision. So from there, I got really bored and really tired. And actually, on a side note, Brett was saying some people hide what they're doing. That was kind of the case there. I mean, I don't know if you know much about EDMs, but like the guy that was programming them, good dude, but kind of he was a little shady with sharing knowledge. EDMs have tech files, right, to put the charge and stuff, feeds and speeds for the EDMs, and he would like label them really strange names so nobody could go back in and figure out what was going on with his programs. So, shops out there can get like that. People can get, I guess kind of weird with their positions that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They want to secure it. So I don't blame them, but in the end, I blame myself. I made a bad decision. So after that, I went to the place where I actually met Brett, and that was a bit better. I was on mills, which was really cool to me. More different parts, which was cool. More setups and stuff of that nature, the stuff that I was more interested in. But even there, like I started to see like a halt. There was I was getting decent overtime and stuff like that, but there was a halt in like a path for me to move forward. So it was actually Brett who we would eat lunch together sometimes, and like he showed me Titans of Scene for the first time, and so I started to get that knowledge from Brett while he was on his unpaid break.
You're right.
But so working my way up to the risk, I love manufacturing. I love being on a machine. I love trying my best. And I just saw a good opportunity with a guy that really knows what's going on. And I took it. I took the shot. I figured I made some bad decisions, based on complacency. And I had to really step out of my comfort zone to make my life's next move.
That's awesome.
And not to cut him off, but since we're on the Culture Podcast, obviously you've seen my on LinkedIn, my job and stuff like that. I've been at quite a few shops.
Yeah.
The culture and again, we're not mentioning the names, was the worst culture I've ever seen.
Really?
The worst culture I've ever seen. And when I was hired, there's a picture in each cafeteria with, let's just say, 20 employees. And that was 2 years or a year and a half before I was there. Half of them were gone.
Wow.
Now, when I brought that up in my review, the vice president wasn't the vice president at the time, started taking it personally. Oh, well, that's not since I've been here. Dude, you're taking it personally. Culture starts at the top.
Absolutely.
All right? You just took it personally. And again, no offense, since he's been there, they lost me, they lost Blaine, they lost their head engineer, they lost their head of purchasing, they lost their head of human resources.
Wow.
If you lose your head engineer, your head of human resources, and your head purchasing, go again, and this is a big company. Where we work was a $10 million entity. Their main building where they did like Seoul, Milwaukee drill, they were like a $30 million a year entity.
Wow.
This is not a small company, Hard stuff, seeing stuff get done wrong. I thought it was a prime candidate to have a robot put in. They wanted to go with 2 horizontals and a 50-rack pallet system between 3 machinos. You still need someone to operate them.
Absolutely.
You can't get people. A robot. You just spent $3 million when a robot would have cost you $1,000, another VF4 would have cost you $100. For $200, now you have a machine that runs nonstop.
Yep.
Now, granted, they did a lot of castings and stuff like that, but they had enough flat stock that would have been great for a robotic machine. Now that the robotic machine is doing all the flat stuff, now you have the guys that aren't tied up. They can work on the castings and stuff like that. And again, the guys on the shop were great. And I tell people all the time, my job there, I got to go in and play all day. Me and the other programmer, we got our own VF2, and we got to just prototype all day. Because again, when you're putting something on a Makina with 4 sides on the tombstone, you're not going to sit here and set up 48 parts and realize the work holding doesn't work. So we're doing all the work holding in a smaller machine, making sure everything works. I got to go in and play all day.
That's awesome.
That being said, the culture still sucked. I mean,
what do you think led to that poor culture there? Was it leadership? Was it a lack of anything that you can define?
Leadership, without a doubt. Because again, the owner, you never saw him. I mean, he was in, again, the other building where they ran, the $30 million. Because again, they made all the cutters for like Asplin, like all the cutters and stuff like that. So anytime a hurricane or something hit, they reaped. They would have like box trucks pull up to their main building. Their main building will get loaded box trucks up with 50,000 worth of equipment and then head down to Mississippi or wherever the hurricanes were. I mean, so they did plenty of work. But again, leadership starts at the top. I mean, culture starts at the top. I mean, after we left, I can think of two different incidences. One guy that had been there for a while asked for more vacation time. They just flat out told him no. You didn't even go to the owner and ask or anything like that. I don't care if you maxed out at 4 weeks vacation, guy. This is a guy that's been with the company since day one. Give him a couple more days vacation time.
Right.
Like, what are you worried about? And then there's another gentleman that quit after we were there. They made him use his vacation time and then basically said, all right, well, you're using your last vacation, so you're working a week and then you're done. So they forced him out after he knew that. And again, I knew this happened. Now, one of the other young guys on the shop floor is thinking, well, I can't use my vacation time because if I quit, they're going to make me use it and force me out.
Yep.
It's all it was the worst culture I'd ever seen. And it starts at the top.
Yep. I agree. I mean, we talk on this show a lot about what culture is, right? And in my experience doing what I do outside of the podcast, culture can be boiled down to simply alignment of values between an organization and its employees, right? If you have that alignment, you've got the foundation for a healthy culture. From there, leadership still has to live those values to build the culture, but it starts with that alignment. And it sounds like not only was there no alignment, but the leadership wasn't living the values at that shop. Yeah. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
No, and again, even here, when Daniel first started, my apprentice, my daughter's boyfriend, he's our lathe apprentice. When he first started, I'd be as honest as I could with him.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to work out. You know me, I think positive. I think that we're going to hire you and you're never going to leave. Yeah. But again, I'm going to be honest with you. And again, if I saw work starting to slow down, hey, Daniel, in like a week or two, I might have to not have you come in for a couple of days. Now, that was when we was part-time and not doing 30 hours and we could do that. And he was okay with that. But again, I always thought positive. Like I said, a week would go by, we'd get that next PO. Daniel, forget everything I just said a couple of days ago, all right? Ignore it, all right? And again, but I would be honest with him. I never bullshitted anything. I was honest with him from the get-go. And as far as culture, I tell people here all the time,
yeah.
We try to, again, do you want to call it a family? Do you want to call it a team? I'd rather be a team. A team works together. Again, I'm a huge sports fan, so I'll relate everything to a team.
Yep.
Everyone on a baseball team has different personalities. You can't treat everyone the same. Now, that being said, we're a small enough shop. Are we more family-oriented than a team? Yeah, I mean, I'm with Blaine nonstop for 7 days a week. Daniel's my daughter's boyfriend. It's my daughter. And not only do I see him here, I see him when he lives with me practically, so I see him when I go home at night. So again, are we more of a family-oriented here? Yes, probably a little bit. But at the same time, we joke around. We can have a good time. Daniel's helping me to burr parts one day. I'm like, Daniel, you want to race? Let's see who can do it the faster, I said, Blaine's going to judge afterwards. Whoever doesn't do the nicer job to burn is going to get -2 minutes on their time, And so we're sitting there racing to burn part. When we get done to burn the parts, he's like, I almost turned around to see where you're at, but I didn't want to slow down. I said, that's funny because I almost called your name just to get you to turn around to slow you down, But literally, he says, done, right before I'm getting ready to say done. I'm like, you son of a gun. But he ended up losing because he forgot to deburr a part and stuff like that.
Oh.
Or a certain hole. So again, he lost and he was not happy that he lost.
I bet.
But again, it's, as much fun as we have to have, I guarantee you, yes, I tell people that, has Blaine been mad at me and has Daniel been mad at me because I've had to, hey, guys, I'd rather it get done this way. Or, come on, man, yes, it's still a shop. We're still a business. Do I like to have fun? Absolutely. But we're still here to make parts and, make progress,
Yeah. And a couple of things I want to unpack there. First, I think it's different when companies refer to their team as a family than when a team acts as a family, if that makes any sense at all. It drives me absolutely bonkers when I walk into a shop and they say, oh, we're just like a family here. My first question is, well, does that mean that you guys can't hold each other accountable? Because I know in my family and a lot of other families that I experience, the kids can't hold mom and dad accountable the way that a player can hold a coach or manager accountable, right, to their actions. So I think that if you really want to have a good culture, you've got to refer to it as a team first, but teams can act as families. So I appreciate that. And I think that going to your point about having fun, but also it's a business, I think that speaks to the experiences that you've had in your past in cultures that may not have been very great, for lack of a better word there. And you're treating your partner in Blaine and your your employee and Daniel as human beings first, and the profits are coming because of that. So I can really appreciate that. Blaine, I want to go back to something you said earlier. You said that you made a bad choice or made a mistake in making that move. Do you think that you'd be where you are today if you hadn't made that move?
As in being?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Would I have met him if I didn't? That's a hard one to answer.
It's funny you say that because, again, not to interrupt, but as he's sitting here saying that, I just wanted to interrupt. I was like, well, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just kept my mouth shut. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, there's been some times when I thought about, what would have been if I stayed at that first shop. I mean, I probably would have been a bit ahead of where I am, if I stayed on that path. But, for any listeners out there who might learn from yours truly, it's don't always just consider the money. That's what I would say. Don't always just consider the money. Like, really think about yourself and what you truly want to do. And I think you can make a bit of a better decision based upon that thought process.
I don't disagree. And I would wonder, Blaine, if there was something even deeper in your time at that company that led to it, right? That very few people truly leave because of the money, right? That's part of the narrative that we've heard for decades in this industry is, oh, they left for 50 cents more. It's rarely the 50 cents more. I mean, that's usually the icing on the cake. It's typically poor leadership, lack of professional development, and a litany of other reasons, right? So were any of those other reasons underlying there that led it easier for that more money to sweeten the deal?
Not in this case.
Okay.
Not in this case. The 50 cents was probably more around $3.50 to $4. So
Okay.
that's a lot
substantial.
of icing. That's a lot of icing. But
it's thick.
and it was EDMs. Being still a bit new to how just machining in general. EDMs looked really cool. But I think that was a really good shop. It wasn't the cleanest. Not to say they're dirty, but just how cementy and it was a really good shop. The guy that was in charge there was really cool and really smart, and it's kind of one of the things I regret. But it's all right. We're just moving forward.
All right, I like it. So tell us a little bit more about B&B. What industries do you all serve?
We serve a little bit of everything. We do a lot of work for what I would call the everyday job. So we've had 3 different guys stop in that got turned down by other shops. Just everyday guys that got turned down by other shops. So we like to do that type of work. A lot of overflow from other machine shops. As I mentioned, our first company was another machine shop that was about 6 months behind schedule.
Yep.
So we do a lot of work for them. One of the other projects that we're a part of, one of the engineers that we used to work at our last company, she went to a company called Afkin down in Delaware. They're to make healthcare simulation more lifelike so that training is more realistic.
Okay.
We're part of a simulation unit that straps onto a human being and pushes a fake baby out of fake vagina.
Wow.
It's a cool unit.
It looks real. I went down there to see this unit work. Her first job down there was to make fake umbilical cords, because they want mineral spirits coming out for antibiotic fluid, and then they have fake blood coming out. So again, they want this as lifelike as possible. So it's a big unit that straps onto a human being, and it pushes a fake baby out of fake vagina. When I first saw that head started to come out, I'm like, that looks too real. No, too real. So
we started having flashbacks.
So we made enough for 5 units. Then we made enough for 5 units, and then they wanted 25 units. Well, we had never met anyone. We were just talking with the engineer that we used to work with. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive these pieces for the 25 units down, and I'll bring some Philly soft pretzels. I want to meet everyone. And they were nice enough to set the unit up and show me a little. They didn't have the blood and everything coming out. They just had it still looked too damn real, though. I gotta say, there are very few things that shock me anymore that are brought up on the podcast. That is the first time that I have ever heard about that kind of simulation. So thank you, Brett, for shocking me on my own podcast. This is the first time in a while. So thank you. I appreciate that. So the other one is, not to cut you off real quick, the other one that was pretty cool. Another manufacturer recommended them to us is this guy, Jim, restores Civil War cannons. Our first job was to lighten up 50 artillery rounds. It was a 25-pound bullet. Non-explosive, but it looked like a 25-pound bullet. He needed a
Wow.
hole punched in the back just to lighten them up. He takes these things down to Tennessee and fires them in a competition.
Really?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, that's a cool unit. The gentleman that does that, it's some really cool stuff.
So not that long ago, so this is the worm gear that goes in the cannon that rotates everything.
Okay.
Right? This has to have a hole and a keyway put in it. About 2 months ago, I'm holding the original in my hand with the guy, Jim, here. I said, Jim, original, what does that mean? He said, oh, that's from 18 in Paris. I'm like, what? I didn't want to let the damn thing down. I'm like, the history that I'm holding right here.
Absolutely.
18, I'm like the general that told the guy to fire that cannon. I'm like, it's not to mention they were able to make that 100 years ago.
And that to me is one of the true feats, right? And how cool our industry is there was that kind of precision 100 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Which is awesome.
And again, I was just telling these guys yesterday because we were brought that up. Someone was just telling me not that long ago that if you take the four corners of a pyramid, they're within like a quarter inch of one another.
Yeah, it's
how
amazing.
How did they do that back then? Like, I mean, it's just amazing how they got that. I mean,
it's wild. Absolutely wild. What's that?
Ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens. All right. That's a whole different podcast, Blaine. I don't know if we've got time today for that. Next time. Wow. That's really neat. So you guys do a little bit of everything for anybody who walks in the door, basically.
Yeah. There's another thing that actually, I don't want to tear down the poster, but we're part of a magician's prop. Yeah, it was brought to us. Another machine shop started it. They dropped the ball, but they had already done all the reverse engineering. This is the guy that got in. And again, I think they're getting into it because of the illusions. And he got into it because of the mechanisms.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't want to give too much away about the trick, but basically, this attaches to a pole and then attaches to the woman. And then the woman goes on a 45 degree and then she goes on a degree like that. And our part's going down the side of her body.
Wow.
And it's spring loaded. So there's a little lever that once they hit it, everything lowers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So the original vision for your shop was to be a school.
Yes.
You started making parts out of necessity because you got fired because you were starting a school. So are you still on that mission to start a school?
Still a vision I have, yes.
Tell us about that.
Blaine, he wasn't really part of that vision just because, again, I've had that kind of vision in my head for years because I know there's such a shortage. So, again, I had a Cuban guy that obviously speaks Spanish. I was going to have Spanish people. Then I had a Belarusian guy that obviously speaks like Northern, the Russian and the Ukrainian. So I kind of had him do that because, again, when I worked at Shear Bearing, the owner was from, I believe, Peru. His dad was from Peru. So he really liked to pay it forward. And we worked with an agency that would place immigrants. Well, I literally got one Russian. And again, I don't mind. But I had to have my lathe guy come over and tell him what to do because at the time his English wasn't good enough. Now, again, we had a teacher come in at night that was teaching them English. So, again, they got better. All right, well, now what happens if we have a CNC machine school where you're learning English and machining?
That's
cool. And not English that you don't, for lack of a better term, that you don't care about. Not the difference between there, and there. The different, caliper, micrometers, stuff you're going to use every day, and you're learning machining at the same time. Then I was going to teach military personnel. Military personnel was going to get like a 33% discount because I think they get screwed when they come back to the country after war.
Yep.
And again, who doesn't want someone that's in the military that's going to show up every day, show up on time every day, be there every day? And then there's another vision I have where, again, if I do start the school, there's no reason, and again, this is why I kind of gave the owner, I wanted to talk to the owner of my last job. There's no reason these students can't be working on parts. We can't not make money. So again, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but if we started up a school, all right, now these guys are paying me, students are paying me to come in and learn. But at the same time, we're making parts, I can underbid any manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Because now people are paying me to make their part. I don't care if we scrap 10 out of them. They're learning, and again, we're making money.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know how ethical that would be to sit here and say, well, we're going to just steal all the jobs because we can afford to do that way now. So again,
have you met the guys from, there's Eagle Manufacturing and Cardinal Manufacturing. They're two student-run machine shops in the Midwest.
No, I have not.
So Craig Sigielski and Chris, I forget his name. There's a number of student-run machine shops, and it's more in the high school model, right? Where they're high school kids, and it's part of a high school program, but they are fully student-run machine shops. And Craig and Chris Townsend, that's his last name. Chris Townsend, Craig Cegielski, they act as GMs, presidents, CEOs, right, of these organizations. They teach these kids how to run a business, but also how to machine parts. It's a really neat model.
Just going back to the power of attraction and everything like that, it's funny because, again, LinkedIn, I just saw someone was in the Army, all right, and they're retired. Hey, I just thought you'd be a good guy to reach out to because this is an idea I had. Well, not only was I in the Army, I actually wrote curriculum for a CNC school. Let me know whenever you're doing it. Again,
wow.
Shit just seems to fall in your lap. I don't know. Yeah. Again, call it what you will. Power. When you're doing it, it seems like stuff just falls in your lap, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I know you know who Drew Crow is.
Yeah.
Talking to him one time. He's like, dude, it does me no good to sit here and preach this stuff if I don't have somewhere to send these people. You got to get that up and running, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that. No, I don't follow the two people. Eagle Manufacturing, I might follow, but we do follow Brian Warren from Meridian College down in Mississippi, and then Gabriel Coyers. I don't know where Gabriel's out of, but we do follow his students as well. It's funny because I'm thinking all the time, Brian's students, man, 3 of them should just get together and open up a shop when they graduate. You know, it's like just 3 of them. Hey, man, you knew the lay of the new. Let's go start our own shop, you know, rather than go working for someone else.
Well, and I think that, to me, that's the future of what this industry is going to be. Is we are going to see a resurgence of the smaller shops in this country, because I think that a lot of people are tired of working for the big dogs, right? And being treated the way that the big companies and the big corporations treat their employees. And we're going to see a lot more shops like being open, 3 guys opening a shop that graduate from Brian's program. I think that's what we're going to see. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I do. So I have mixed feelings about that. We follow, like I said, LinkedIn's a great place, but it seems like on the West Coast, I see so many disgruntled machinists or shop owners just saying that they would never get into machining again, or that if they had to choose the path again, they wouldn't choose machining. I don't want to say I feel bad for them. I don't know what the word is. Like, I love it. Like, I would never want to do anything else. Has the money always been great? No, but if the money's not great, find somewhere that's going to pay you. My whole thing is, yes, do I think you're going to lean more towards that on the East Coast? Yes, because in my opinion, we deal with one machine shop. This guy's a great guy. Blaine, old school Italian guy. We love dealing with him. He's a great guy. He's having a hard time finding machinists right now. Is he willing to pay a decent amount for a machinist? Yes. But now the companies that are big around here, yes, I'm going to say they're almost overpaying.
Yeah.
So now they're stealing the qualified machinists and overpaying them. So now the mid-sized shops, they just can't find anyone because all the big companies are now paying $40, $45 an hour.
Wow.
You know, my apprentice at my last job, I tell people this all the time. When he went to quit a job, he went from making, and again, this is a Cuban guy. His wife and child were still in Cuba for like 4 or 5 years. They just got up here a year ago. So this guy hustled. He got after it. He started off at $14 an hour in the machining industry 5 years ago. He's up to over $40 an hour. Now, again, this is a guy, like I said, he hustled it. When I first went to IMTS a couple of years ago, I came back and I told him about Titan. He went out that weekend, bought a laptop, had the first part drawn and programmed on Monday. I said, dude, I couldn't ask for anything more, man. Like, this is awesome. Now, again, when he went to leave his company, was he worth $40 an hour? No, in my opinion, he probably wasn't worth that. But to that company, he was. Because they didn't want to lose him. They didn't want to have to retrain someone. Now, is he up and programming 5-axis machines and worth the $40 an hour? Yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
But at the time, he wasn't, you know? So I think that's where the smaller shops are going to start because, again, you can't find someone. We're lucky with Daniel because he's my daughter's boyfriend. And, yes, he was making more at Walmart pushing carts than he is for me right now. But at the same time, he knows getting up to that is all about him. Yep. You know, he started off at $15. Then we bumped him up to 16 feet. Then when he went full time, he got 17 at the beginning of the year. 18 probably is going to be in the middle of the year. I told him $20 for our second year. We just got our taxes done. I think we did. And again, numbers are numbers to us. We don't care about that. We'll throw anything out there. It's not what makes you happy. So I told him our goal this year is $500,000. I said, Daniel, if we hit $500,000 and you do everything in your power to hit $500,000, I will guarantee you $20 at the end of the year.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, that's what the only thing I can do is, and he knows that if I make that promise, we'll make that promise that if we hit that, and even if we did 40, chances are he's still getting $20 an hour. Because again, I threw him and Blaine to the wolves, man. Blaine's programming already. Daniel sat at my house at the kitchen table where he's writing simple programs, nothing complicated. The job we're setting up today is a lot more complicated for him today. We're clearing jaws, he's jumping behind me to make sure, you know, he doesn't want to get hit, you know. But
Blaine, what do you see? What do you see as the future, Blaine?
This isn't based on statistical analysis or anything of that nature, but I kind of think that freelancing and small business is the future for a lot of industries. I just see it with, Facebook friends and LinkedIn communities. I see guys trying to figure out what they want to do. I see it with my family. I hear a lot more talk of what people want to do for themselves as opposed to, I want to go work for this company.
Yeah.
So I kind of just have that in my mind that I think freelancing and small businesses are going to be the future.
Yeah. And I think it goes in waves, right? I think we saw a bit of that in our industry in the 90s, right? Early 2000s, there were a lot more small shops. Then VCs started to gobble them up and they started to become part of these conglomerates. And now people are starting to realize they don't fit in the values and vision and mission of those organizations. And now they're starting to do their own things again. So I appreciate that. Blaine, you're a big proponent of American manufacturing, right? That's a big part of your persona on LinkedIn, at least. Brett, you as well. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I've said numerous times on the show that to me, manufacturing is the backbone of the middle class, and the middle class is the backbone of the US, of America. Talk to us about your passion about American manufacturing and how you guys are working to get more jobs back here.
That's a good one. I don't think it could be said any better that, manufacturing is basically a backbone of America.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal. And I think to me, it's special because it kind of it came a little bit more naturally than other stuff that I could have gotten myself into. I just like manufacturing. That's a good question. I don't specifically know how I'm going to bring more jobs back to America, but
Okay.
I know that I can try and help just keep America products made in America. You're not just helping me. If we get a customer, you're not just helping me, but you're also helping my family, and you're helping my family's helping all the shops that they spend their money on.
Yeah.
And all the money just circulates. I don't see why it should circulate too much outside of America in the country that, proud to
Sure.
be a part of.
As far as what I would have to say is, so again, as far as American manufacturing is concerned, obviously making sure that what we put out the door is quality.
I like that. Yeah.
Don't want to, unfortunately, we deal with another shop. We did a component for them, and this isn't something a lot of shops want to admit. The other company was 3 months late with its components. They got told that these parts were late because they're in quality. All right, they're sitting in quality, they're sitting in quality. 2 out of the 3 parts got delivered were scrapped. That is not what American manufacturing needs right now. And I don't mean to talk bad about some shops, but unfortunately, some shops probably need to close. I'm sorry if that's an asshole thing to say, but if you're not putting out good quality parts, you're hurting American manufacturing.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Now, we did these same parts for them. Their drawings are old, so they don't have models or anything like that. I modeled a hole in the wrong spot. It was the first part we were doing on the machine. I modeled the hole wrong. I did not wait a week, 2 weeks. I didn't sit there and finish the part and deliver the bad part. All right? This customer's right across the parking lot from us.
Okay.
I got on the phone. I said, I effed up. What can I do to make this right? No, there was a hole that was going through on an angle. Well, let me see if we can just shift that hole a little bit. No, we can't shift that hole. All right, what can we do? They gave me, and again, this was customer supplied material, aircraft grade 40. What they had was, they gave me originally was square. All right, so I had to make 3 pieces out of square. The first one, obviously, like I said, I took it on the chin, we messed up. I had to buy the round stock off of them and then make a round piece into a square pice. But 3 good parts got delivered. We didn't wait. It's, yes, the only people that don't mess up are the people that do nothing. I don't know if that was Einstein that said that or whoever. So unfortunately, mistakes get made. How you react to them is a game changer, in my opinion. One of the first jobs we ever subcontracted out was a turning job. All right, because we didn't have a lathe at the time. The gentleman that I had the lathe, I thought he knew what he was doing. All right, unfortunately, he ended up taking a little bit longer. This customer called me up. They're like, Brett, we need another 20 of these. I said, listen, guys, I really don't want to do this. I think this is giving B&B a bad name. All right. They're like, Brett, don't worry. You've been doing everything right. The first ones that he sent down here that weren't wrong or weren't right, you didn't wait 2 weeks to get down here. You were down here that day. You were fixing it. Besides the parts, those first 5 not being right, you've done everything we could ask for as a supplier. You're communicative. You've done. Now, when we got our lathe, yes, 2 of those jobs we had to pull back because it was taking too long. They're like, pull back those jobs. Yeah. That is one of our customers that repeats the most. Okay. Again, because we were communicative. We didn't take,
You took responsibility.
Exactly.
You were accountable.
As far as tooling, I try to buy as much American manufacturing tooling as I can. All right. We just tried Gorilla Mill for the first time. I think they're made right in Wisconsin or something like that. Now, that being said, I did listen to a post that Titan did not long ago. Is it more important to buy American American tooling, or buy the right tooling for the job and keep your American guys? And so again, I took that to heart. So again, we do have a mixture. We do have Sumitomo is a Japanese drill that we like a lot. We use that here. Seiko, again, Mitsubishi. Again, my Mitsubishi rep is a guy that lives in Pennsylvania. So I'm supporting American,
Yeah, absolutely.
That way we're trying to support American men. As I mentioned, 2 people are trying to start up a shop. Mm-hmm. Hey, guys, if you need a thread gauge for your first job and you don't want to go spend $100 on the thread gauge, come borrow a thread gauge from us. Check it, our manual CMM. You have access to it. We're not going to say no to you. We want to support the little guys trying to start up a shop. And it's the one guy, he's like, so he talked to me 2 different times. He wanted to be like, I wanted to make sure that you weren't going to be mad if I ran in the building over with you. I said, dude, there's 4 other machine shops with us. Come join the crowd, we borrow one of their forklifts all the time, So, like I said, I never realized how great of a LinkedIn community, and both of them I said, telling you, no one on LinkedIn is going to want to see you fail. Not one and if they do, kick them off. There are some haters out there, because I know a lot of the females out there, they get crap from posts. Dude, screw the haters. That's all I can say. There's always going to be someone that hates. If someone's not hating you, you're not doing something right. Pretty much.
Exactly.
So that's where we're at with American manufacturing. We want to support it. We want to make sure we're putting quality out the door. And as far as tooling, we obviously want to buy American tooling whenever possible, but it has to be the right fit for the job.
I like it. Guys, I just looked down and we've been going for an hour and 2 minutes. I had no idea that we were already at that point. So this question's for both of you guys. I want to hear both of your takes on this. What haven't I asked you that you want to share with the listeners or viewers if they're on YouTube? What haven't I asked that you want to share with the audience?
Again, if you're thinking about starting a shop, do it. Don't wait. There's never a right time. It's just like having a kid. Oh, I'm going to wait till we have the money. You're never going to have the money to have a kid. Just start a shop. And like I said, I never realized how great of a community. Again, I'm not on social media. I'm never on Facebook, MySpace, Instagram, any of that crap. I do think it's crap. I'm sorry.
I love that you brought up MySpace, though. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm never on any of that. But being, again, a business owner on LinkedIn, you kind of have to. And again, it's where we get a lot of our work. Post as many pictures as you can that you're allowed to.
Yeah.
And again, we go 7 days a week. We've been doing 7 days a week for close to 2 years now. 2 years, it will be in March.
Yep.
Not every post has to be about work. When I'm working in here on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm posting, and I don't know if you know, hey, what's your favorite 90s band? Bush? Or me and Blaine are having who was a better band, Bush or Tool? Now you're talking about 2 different types of groups.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your favorite female vocalist from the 90s? Blah, blah, blah. So people are getting to know me as well. They know, hey, Brett likes an Eagles and you don't even have to know who I am. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you know I'm an Eagles and a Phillies fan.
Yep.
You know that I like 90s music. And honestly, one of our newer customers that we just dropped off parts to today that we're hoping is going to be a repeat customer because they're huge. The first email I ever got from him, as I'm typing up this RFQ, I'm listening to Rage. Why would you write that if you weren't following me on LinkedIn to know that I like Rage Against the Machine? So now people are getting to know me. They're getting to know my personality. And honestly, we've tried to post as much about Daniel as possible because anything about a young kid learning, 3 or 4 times as many views. And he knows it. He gets cocky. He smiles. He gets ready already. He's got that machine shop attitude, and not to get too
little extra swagger.
Obviously more women are getting into the industry. Right? Yep. But again, when you're in an all-guy shop, a lot of things might get taken sexually a little bit too bit. Hey, man, when I first said tit on the part from the lady, hey, man, take the tit off the part. Oh, my God, the grin on this young kid's face. What did you just say, tit? And obviously, I can't take things sexually with a guy that's dating my daughter. So now I need to hold back,
Right.
So, but no, it's like I said, we try to have fun. We try to have a good time, but someone put a post on it, not that what are you looking for in 2004? Have things gone bad? More time back? Or honestly, it couldn't get any better. I did put more time back because, we work 7 days a week. But honestly, it could not have been any better for the first 2 years.
That's awesome.
We cannot have asked for any better of a start, any better support. Again, when we first started up, one guy was retiring that used to work for MSC. Here, Brett, here's everything in my trunk. All this for free.
Wow.
2 reps. One was an industrial warehouse. One was a tool rep. They were competing over who was giving me for more free stuff.
That's awesome.
That much free stuff. I'm going to give you a little bit more. Okay. I'm not going to argue. And the toolbox that we got from my apprentice. The same gentleman that retired, he used to be a tool and die maker. Now he ended up being a metalworking specialist for MSC and stuff like that, but he did have a toolbox. So Daniel's first day, he had a toolbox set up.
Wow.
It was here. Now, would I do that for just anyone? Probably not. But it was my daughter's boyfriend.
It's a nice box. It's a Kennedy.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's what we give our apprentices here in Arizona for Skill Up. When they join the apprenticeship program, they get a Kennedy box full of tools right on day one.
So we do want to get back. And one thing I've thought of, and I've never told Blaine this, I don't think, but like I said, I follow Brian Warren down there in Mississippi and Meriden. I was going to ask him, hey, what is something your students could use when they graduate? Because some of them do get the free backpack with the calipers and stuff like that. Hey, if there's something we can give back, we'll start to donate. I mean, we want to donate a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
One of the things that we would like to do is give back. We've given back a little bit, not as much as I want to, but that is a goal of mine. I don't want to be that guy that doesn't give back to his community where his business is.
Blaine, that question for you. What do you want to share with the audience that I haven't asked you?
That's a rough question. When I think about that, I kind of think of one thing. I wish you would have asked me, like, point blank, like, what do you think is the most important thing, I guess just in general, and about maybe manufacturing or maybe just being alive today, and I would say that it's your network. I know it's like you said, LinkedIn is a fabulous community, and I want to work on that more myself. So it's something that I'm still trying to get used to. But if I had advice to give to anybody out there, it would be secure, maintain a nice network. And I think that network will help lead you to success.
It's all about your network, not your net worth, right? So guys, I really appreciate you both being on today. Thank you both very much. It was a great conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on another fantastic episode of the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. We've had an incredible conversation diving deep with Brett Lister and Blaine Radie of B&B Dynamic Machining. Their journey from shop floor to co-owning a thriving business, their insights on culture in the precision manufacturing industry, and their innovative approaches to employees and interns and productivity have been absolutely enlightening. We've covered everything from the importance of positive work environment to the role of leadership in shaping company culture. Brett and Blaine's experiences and stories remind me of the dynamic nature of the manufacturing world and how staying true to your values can lead to remarkable success. Don't forget to keep this conversation going by visiting us at Manufacturing Culture Podcast. Here you can dive into our past episodes, get more insights, pick up some merch, some coffee, and join our ever-growing community of manufacturing enthusiasts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends, colleagues, your grandma, wife, husband, children, anyone who's really passionate about manufacturing, culture, and the intersection of the two. Your shares and recommendations help us grow, and that helps us bring more exciting content. Also, don't forget to rate and review the show on whatever podcast platform or YouTube that you're on. Your feedback not only helps me improve, but it helps others discover the podcast because it rockets us up the charts every time you rate and review the show. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, whether you're on the shop floor or in the boardroom, the culture you create drives the future of manufacturing. Stay inspired, keep learning, and until next time, let's keep building a culture of excellence in manufacturing. See you on the next episode. Have a great day and keep making things.